Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Bookkeeper Radio. I'm Kelvin here, and my co-host, of course, Peter Thorp. Evening, Pete.
Good evening, Kelvin. Good evening, Charles. I think the last time I saw you was on a balcony overlooking Sydney Harbour, sipping a lemonade after the ABN conference. So welcome aboard, mate.
Great. No, welcome. Glad to be along, guys. Yeah, there was quite a nice lemonade there at that conference.
Well, we've certainly got a great show lined up tonight, and we're going to introduce, of course, our bookkeeping superhero, Charles Klvana, from a Perth-based firm called Ion Books. And Charles, of course, the winner of the 2016 Bookkeeping Firm of the Year. So, mate, a very big congratulations on that award.
Thank you. I can't believe it's already been almost, 4 or 5 months again since then. It's been quite a busy period. Well, with Christmas and all.
Mate, absolutely amazing it was.
Now, just as we speak with Charles this evening, if you do want to participate in tonight's show, there's a couple of ways you can do that. We've, of course, got the live panelists. So if you raise your hand, so on your screen there, you'll see a raise your hand button. If you'd like to talk to Charles a little bit later in the show, in about 30 minutes' time, then just raise your hand. We'll promote you to panelist, and you can certainly ask your questions of Charles. If you're a little bit shy and you don't want to do that, then you can also use the question and answer. On your screen, you'll also see a Q&A button. So if you just want to type in your question to Charles, we'll get that at our end, and we can ask Charles on your behalf. So, Charles, just a little bit about that 2016 Bookkeeping Award. Again, congratulations, a magnificent achievement. Can you tell us a little bit about how that happened and what it's meant for you to be recognised in such a way?
Yeah, thanks, guys. Well, first of all, the awards were through a group called Accountants Daily. And so the Accountants Daily Accounting Awards are the only national accounting awards in Australia. And how it came about, well, I got nominated for it, and that's a bit of a funny story because I get a lot of junk mail, and first thing in the morning you sort of delete, and well, hang on a sec, what did that one say? Something about being nominated? Went back into my deleted items, and yeah, we've been nominated for a Bookkeeping Firm of the Year. And then part of that process was putting together answering a submission form and answering a lot of questions in depth about how the business is structured, plans for growth, how we look after our customers, how we deal with customer satisfaction, as well as some metrics in terms of number of clients, our revenue growth, and so forth like that. Testimonials as well. Submitted all of that, and I guess some background happened. Some things happened in the background where they researched us, and apparently we checked out all right. And it was a great night over in Sydney. There was a lot of other very prominent bookkeeping firms also up for the award, and so to be honest, I didn't have much hope of actually being successful in it, but it was quite a pleasant surprise when they called out Ion Books, and we were up there on the front, sort of telling everybody what we've been doing. So what it's meant in terms of being recognised, Ion Books, we've been around now for almost 10 years. I've been a bookkeeper for about 16 odd years. So it's been great to actually get that recognition, as well as the team as well. So it's not just me, I'm not a one-man band. So my staff are back in the office listening along. Hey guys, they're also pulling you all in the right direction to help clients and really make their business life easy. And that's where I think the awards really come from, a recognition of that.
Well, it's a great achievement. You mentioned there just a little bit about the background. Can we just sort of go there for the moment and sort of tell the audience and the viewers a little bit about where you started, when you commenced in bookkeeping? What was that light bulb moment when all of a sudden you said, "Hey, I'm going to be a bookkeeper"? Can you share a little bit of that with us?
Yeah, for sure. Look, I suppose, how long have we got? There's actually quite a bit of a story behind why Ion Books started and my philosophy behind it. So might take me a little while to go through it, but going right back to the beginning, back in the 90s, I actually studied and did a honours degree in biochemistry and microbiology at the University of WA. and came out of uni in it was about 98 or so, and couldn't get a job anywhere other than chief bottle washer, or unless I wanted to do a PhD, which I wasn't interested in at all. By that stage, wanted to earn some money. So I got a job at a computer store because I love computers and I love dealing with the customers and that sort of thing like that. And then around that time, my girlfriend's parents, or became my in-laws, opened up a health club. And they said, "Hey, Charles, how about we need a network administrator and someone to look after the computers. How about you come along?" And so I was working there, and then of course the good old GST came into effect. And they said, "Charles, I don't want to know about this GST. You go off, you learn about it, and come back and tell us what we need to do." And so that's how I fell into the bookkeeping side of things. So I started bookkeeping for that health club, and not only learned about the bookkeeping side of things, but also a lot about running a small business, about how every marketing dollar has to see a return, dealing with staff. If you've ever been to a health club, you know there's a fair bit of sales involved in it. So I learned that whole sales process as well. And then in about 2002, we managed to sell the business to Fitness First Australia. And as part of the deal, I came across as well and started working for Fitness First in their sort of finances. From there, then I learned about big business, and in pretty short order, moved up through the ranks and ended up looking after the finances for all of WA, for all of the 6 clubs here in Perth. And that's where I learned about big business, putting systems into place where we had to put in a system for reception that we could roll out across all the receptions, where they would be taking up money at the end of the day, how to balance the tills, safe deposits, all that kind of stuff like that. And was happy sort of doing that through along. Ended up setting up a system where we had a mini head office for Fitness First, and all the paperwork would flow through from the other clubs over to our mini head office that I set up, and we would deal with all the paperwork there. Also helped Fitness First move from monthly debits to fortnightly debits, which was what we were doing in the old health club as well. And anyway, eventually, come about 2005 or so, looking for a bit of a sea change, the guys over at head office in Sydney said, "Hey, Charles, how about you come over to Sydney?" And unfortunately, by that stage, I was divorced and had 2 little kids that I saw every now and then, and didn't want to move to Sydney. So I said, "No, thanks, guys, and tell you what, I'm going to quit." And because, I don't like being told what to do. I don't like, I like it usually my way or the highway. And so I went, "Oh, what am I going to do? I know, I'll buy a cafe. That's really easy." And so I bought a cafe in the city. It was called Rolls Choice. And it suited me to a T because it was 5 days a week. There was no trades on the weekends. So great, could see the kids, no dramas. It was not a complex cafe, so food-wise was pretty easy. There wasn't any kind of meals I needed to be a chef for or replace chefs for. And so I bought that cafe, and after about 3 months or so, figured out that, hey, I seem to be losing $10,000 a month here. Holy crap. And that was pretty devastating at that stage. And of course, you blame yourself, going, "Oh, customers, they're really related to the old owners, not relating to me. It's all my fault." And ended up figuring out and talking to the guys in the arcade that apparently the guys I bought it from were allegedly part of the Perth underworld, and they kind of put other kinds of money through the till that, funnily enough, I didn't have going through the till. So that's why I wasn't doing so as well as they were after I bought the business. So I was really stuck and couldn't sell the business anymore because it wasn't making any money, and couldn't sue those other guys because, like I said, they're allegedly part of the underworld. I might find myself at the bottom of the river. And so using the skills I'd learnt through the small business, where every single dollar needs to see a return, as well as systemizing the business. So the recipes, doing this at this stage, this at this stage, and really systemizing it. And through a lot of hard work, about 18 months later, turned the business around and we're making 15 grand a month. So that was a lot of hard work, and grew the business to a stage where it became a case of, oh, look, do I keep the business and using economies of scale, buy a new business and lessen my costs that way, or get out of it? And if you've ever, I've dealt with clients since then. Running cafes is not as easy as you think. And I was doing 12-hour days, and by that stage, I'd developed severe dermatitis. I could make my fingers bleed just by pinching them. And so I decided to get out of it. But during those last 6 months, when I was really, when the business was doing a lot better, I was running a very professional ship, and I was still working those 12-hour days and still coming home, counting up the cash, doing all the bookkeeping, paying the bills and all the rest. So I was looking around for a bookkeeper at that stage to help me with my business. And to be honest, I was really disappointed with what was coming through. So remember, this was about 2006, when we were still very much a cottage industry sort of thing like that. And so I couldn't find anyone that matched the professional way I was running my business. So when I sold the cafe, I know what I'll do. I'm going to become a bookkeeper again. And I realized that Perth really needed a professional bookkeeping firm that treated their business with the same respect that they treated theirs, where their financials are the most important asset that they look after. And so that's when I started Iron Books. That was my light bulb moment, when Perth was crying out for a professional bookkeeping firm.
All right.
So
terrific,
we
mate.
started about April 2017 with 2007, sorry, and with one staff, with one client. And now, almost 10 years later, so in April this year is going to be our 10-year birthday. We've now got 450 clients. We've got 10 staff, and I've still got that same client that we started with. Our very first client, we've still got them. And so that's how Iron Books started.
Mate, good story. Look, I doing the maths in my head. So best part of 10 years. So you've now got it to a point where you've added pretty well a client a week for 10 years, and an employee a year for 10 years. So your Christmas party's getting bigger. That's one hell of a growth story, and that's absolutely amazing. Can we just start unpacking a little bit of the journey that you've gone through, just to tell me what sort of systems and procedures and things would you do to control that growth story? Because that's just amazing. Most businesses couldn't grow that fast.
Yeah, look, it's certainly been a big journey, and as we all know, the bookkeeping industry as a whole has really changed over the last 10 years as well. Software-wise, we've now recognised we're now BAS agents, all that kind of stuff like that. So we've ridden through all of that, from when anyone could call themselves a bookkeeper that knew a tiny bit of MIB, through to the requirements today to hold a BAS agent's license. So the systems that we've got in place, wow, like how many of them? So the first staff member I put on was in 2008. Just kind of in those days, I was still very much the front face. They would do the bookkeeping for the clients behind the scenes. One of the biggest things, I suppose, even to this day, that we do is, in our business, someone else prepares the BAS from whoever did the work. So we've got, obviously one, bookkeeper looks after their clients, does the work, and then inside our practice management software, they mark that job as ready for review, ready for BAS review, and someone else in the office then reviews it, prepares the BAS, and sends that to the client.
So you actually break down the functions a little bit to get efficiencies in function, as opposed to one employee from start to finish doing everything. You're systemising the functions. True?
Yeah, that's right. So we really just, we needed to prepare up sort of checklists in terms of what we needed to look for on each client. Each client to this day is still a little bit different. We very much tailor our services towards each client. And so we don't generally have the same checklist per client. Even in those days, like I said, through that time at Fitness First, I really learned a lot about processes and doing things in the same way to get the same result. And if you're not getting the right result, to go back, change the system in the first place to be able to get that. And so trying to scale all of that sort of systems up. right from the get-go, even when it was one staff member, when it was just me and Sharon or Susan, we were doing things the same way that we're almost doing things today, just to really, in the way we communicate to clients. We've got templates in terms of those draft BASs that we send to them, all those kind of checklists to standardise it.
And Charles, was quality assurance, was that ever an issue for you in engaging other staff members to come on board and sort of assist with those client relationships?
It was. Look, there's probably two sides. You just mentioned client relationships, and obviously that's a little bit, it requires almost a total different skill set from actually doing the bookkeeping, from the actual technical side. So from the technical standpoint, in the early days, I put everyone through a MyOb training course to be able to get onto that, so that I knew that at least they had those fundamentals down. One of the other things I'd always done myself as well is I always spent a little bit more on our staff and hired people that were more experienced, because I didn't want to have to deal with the doubts or all the checks or try to verify everything that they were doing. I wanted people that were experienced. It cost me more money in terms of hiring more experienced staff members, but I'm glad to say, it's proved really well. In terms of the client relationships, like I said, a whole different sort of ball game. So for at least a good 5 years, I was probably the main contact for a good 90% of our clients. And so then hiring staff became a little bit different, where we're looking for staff members that had good instant rapport with clients, as well as obviously the bookkeeping skills as well. And so overall, the business now, we're divided somewhat into departments, where we have our on-site bookkeepers. So those guys, they're out on the road 90% of the time, and they're really good with clients. Well, to be honest, all of my guys are really good with clients, but those guys have to see them all the time and all the rest. So I find that there's really two sets of skills you need to be looking for when hiring a staff member. That rapport side, so that they can be able to talk to people and explain difficult concepts to people, as well as obviously know what they're doing when it comes to the GST side and the insurance side. Luckily, we're sort of at a size now where we can start helping grow the younger generation of bookkeepers, and so we're bringing on trainees now that we can skill them up and train them the way we want to, and still be happy that they're still learning those bookkeeping skills and implementing them in the Iron Books way, rather than some other way that they might learn. And
mate, you're sort of talking about staff there in general. Like, where do you find your staff? Our survey sort of indicated that there are a number of bookkeepers who are facing those same challenges that you are today, or you did back in those early days, about finding staff. Can you give our audience a little bit of an insight into some of the ways that you attract staff and what you look for?
Yeah, so I've been really lucky with everyone. I've managed to, we've got a really great team, love everybody that's there. So where have we found those guys? So a couple of staff I've found through referrals, where I've put the word out. And so in the early days, before even the whole Facebook sort of thing, put the word out looking for a staff member, and that usual case where eagles fly with eagles. So if I knew that someone that's really good at running their business said, "Hey Charles, I've got a friend that's looking for a job as a bookkeeper," I'm going to know that they're kind of pretty good as well. So there's been a few staff that come through that referral side of things. Seek I've found an awesome staff member through Seek, a couple of awesome staff members through Seek, but that can be a little bit hit and miss. You've got to wade through heaps and heaps of different applications. One of the ones what I did try one time was, how normally on Seek it just says bookkeeper wanted or professional bookkeeper or something or other. I really played with the whole sales side of things and went, join the BAS agent revolution, was the title of the job. And so I got a whole different type of staff members to apply for that job just because of the way the job was worded. You know, if you've got a conservative bookkeeper, perhaps they would be scared off perhaps by the join the BAS agent revolution. Whereas an outgoing kind of staff member, someone that you might want on the customer rapport side, is going to be attracted to those sort of job ads rather than the boring kind of ones or the traditional ones. So that sort of helps guide the right people to apply for those jobs when you're looking for them as well.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, I think I've got the keeper of our survey here beside me, and every survey for the last X has come up and said that our 3 biggest challenges in running a bookkeeping business at the moment, and looking at you as someone who's probably tamed a lot of those challenges, the 3 biggest ones would be marketing, finding new clients, managing time, and managing 10 people in your own time must be a challenge, and getting client records as and when you want them. So those 3 challenges are the big 3 that we've seen every survey for the last 5, 6 or thereabouts. So any insights into those 3?
Definitely. I'll start with the easy one first, which is the reverse order, getting paperwork from clients. So as I said, we've been going for 10 years, seeing the huge change in the software field of things. And so I think you probably can guess where I'm heading. So in the old days, everything was desktop-based software, and we had to make appointments with clients to either go out to their premises to go see them and do their work. If we did it back in our offices, then maybe they had to email the file to us, or we need to try to FTP it back, or get them to fax through their bank statements, and inevitably they leave off the last statement that you need and takes 3 weeks to get it back from them. And came across Xero back in about 2012, I think it was, 2011 maybe. And it ticked all those boxes, solved the problems in terms of access to all the financials, access to the bank statements. In those days, couldn't quite deal with the supplier statements or anything though. And so we jumped on that straight away. And while we're still to this day, we're not 100% Xero or anything like that. We do what's best for our client, not necessarily what's best for us. I would say a good 90% of our clients are on Xero, and it's solved all of those issues. So getting paperwork from clients. For those clients where we still do have the hard copies or we need to get them, you know, we look after a number of franchises, and we've set up like a mini paper pickup run once a month where one of our guys will actually go all the way down to Mandurah, which is, if you know Perth, it's a fair while down. Go down to Mandurah, pick up paperwork, go past a couple of other clients and pick all that paperwork up. That's just part of our service. We don't charge extra for it or anything like that. Obviously, the rest of it is using technology such as Receipt Bank or so forth like that to get that in for us. So that's kind of solved a lot of those issues. Marketing side of things, to be honest, our best results have come from referrals. Over the past 10 years, we've done very little marketing, to be totally honest. Our website, we recently redid a year ago, but before that it was pretty shocking. A few people that know me will know about that, about what our old website looked like. So most of our work has come from referrals, and most of those referrals have come from accounting firms. So we've worked pretty closely with accountants to show them that by working with us or giving us their clients, their job's going to be easier, and they're going to get a good result for their client as well.
And just on that point, Charles, so a number of bookkeepers sort of have tried and continue to try that avenue through accountants. Was it literally walking up to the door, knocking on it, introducing yourself, or how did you go about? Was it networking groups and clubs? How did you break into those accounting circles?
Really, in the early days, the first one was BNI. I think a lot of people in at the conference, I think we even talked about BNI briefly. So BNI, I joined a BNI chapter, and I'm lucky that the accountant in there had no interest whatsoever in doing bookkeeping, and flicked us any clients that came their way. From there, it was kind of really natural. So when we picked up a new client, I'm glad to say we were really good at looking after the client, and the accountant noticed it and went, "Hey Charles, wow, I've never seen a bookkeeper that ran so professionally and all the rest. Can you look after these other clients as well?" And so very often, on the odd occasion when we picked up what I call a cold client from marketing or phone or website, if the accountant was the right kind of person, we'd end up picking up a good other 5, 6 clients through that way. So it's really just about our own systems running really well, being on the side of the accountant, I guess, in some ways, or making them look good, or helping them. I don't know what the quite right words are for it. But just by doing it that way, we managed to pick up, we pick up work from about 10 different accountants in Perth now. And to be totally honest, it wasn't from knocking on their door and going, hey, have you got any clients for me and stuff like that. So
it's
really
interesting, isn't it?
lucky,
It's almost like as you say, it's still come through the client. So it's almost like the client has referred you to his accountant, who's then contacted you to do more. So that's it's still a referral, but almost, as you say, through the client channel rather than through direct marketing to accountants.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you think about it, I talk sometimes to clients about this as well. It's about leveraging your time in gaining those new clients, right? So I could spend my time going to, let's say, trade events where I've got to sell to every single client to try to get a client, right? So if I want 10 clients, I've got 10 sales jobs I need to do. Whereas if I can do an awesome job with the client and the accountant loves it, I just need to service or look after that one accountant and I get 10 clients out of it. So there's only one person I need to look after. Then when the referral comes to us, they're already pre-sold. The accountant's gone, man, just go with Charles. Don't worry about what he charges or don't worry about it. They're really good. And half the closing rate on those kind of guys are just awesome. If a client comes to us and goes, hey, Joe Bloggs, my accountant, told me I should give you a call. I'm starting up a new business. Man, they haven't even shopped around. They're just going straight to us and we're in the door.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, it doesn't get any better than that sort of third-party endorsement, and that person's already coming from a position of having a relationship and having a trusted advisor sort of status. So they're just handing that over to you. It's a handing glove.
So the referral side has worked great. There is certainly downsides to the referral side because, to be honest, you end up almost taking every kind of referral, even if it's not completely good for you, because you never know where the next referral is going to come from. And if that might be a little, let's say a crappy referral, but the next one from that same person might be really good. So it's kind of, in some ways, it's a little bit bad because you might end up taking on work that perhaps may not be best for your business. But you've got to measure that up against your own growth, where you're at. So certainly we're at the stage now where for the first time we're starting to go, oh, look, no, that's not the kind of client we're looking for, or we can't help this particular one. And we'll, refer them on to another bookkeeper, part of ABN or something like that to look after.
Mate, the third item on our survey was your time management. And for you, looking after 10 crew in your own time, that must be a challenge.
It is. I think a big part of it is on the job management software. So we jumped on Workflow Max or Xero Practice Manager very early on. We actually jumped on there before it was free and we were paying for it. And that allows me to see all of the jobs, where they're all at. And again, because we've hired experienced staff, they don't require quite as much hand-holding in terms of what's happening, what isn't happening. And so a lot of the time I can let them go by themselves. By the same token, certainly time management is still crazy. I wouldn't say that I've mastered it. Ask my wife. She'll tell you that, leaving at 7 o'clock in the morning and coming home at 7 o'clock at night is not proper time management. But certainly there's a case where I spend a lot of my day just helping my guys and enabling them to do the work that they've got, answering their queries, showing them a new client, so that if I spend the extra time showing them a new client, showing them that properly, then I won't have to look after that client next quarter again. So it's investing that time there. So I find that Workflow Max works really well. Outlook, a few years ago, I sat in an actual seminar that talked about the 4 Ds when going through your inbox. So I literally probably still get good 60 to 70 emails a day. And the 4 Ds is when you're going through your inbox, either do it now. So if an email, you can do it essentially in 3 minutes or less, do it right now before you get to the next email even. Delete it. So if it's got nothing to do with you, delete it. Delegate it. So a lot easier when you've got staff to go, yep, not my problem. Ding. Hey, Laura, can you look after this? Rachel, whatever. Or the last one is delay it. So if it's going to take more than 3 minutes, I really love the little flags in Outlook. So I'll flag the email and say to do it tomorrow or something like that. So then once I've cleaned through my inbox, through all the 4 Ds, and I do that maybe 4 times a day, then I can look back at the flagged emails, take care of them, and then have a look back on my to-do list. The guys in the office will laugh at this. So I'm a big believer in writing down your to-do list. Your brain, I find my brain's always busy remembering what it needs to remember. And so as soon as I think of something that needs doing, I'll write it down on my scrap bit of paper on my desk. Then I don't have to remember to do that. And that is also a big thing as well. So then whenever you finish stuff and I'm going, oh, what should I get started on next? I can look at my scrap bit of paper and go, oh yeah, cool, that one, I'll do that one. Yep, do that one, do that one. So that really helps me with my time management.
Mate, you mentioned earlier charge rates, and that's another big sector for bookkeepers in terms of what to charge and how frequently to look at pricing different things, whether it's fixed pricing or hourly charge rate. Can you give us a little bit of an insight into the way your practice operates in terms of both fixed rates and also hourly rates?
Yeah, Kelvin, I wouldn't say that we've mastered, well, as you know, there's that huge discussion around value-based billing or flat fee billing, and certainly haven't quite mastered that. So as a whole, on books, I would say we're maybe 40% flat fee billing per month and 60% still hourly. It does vary or change a little bit. So we've got certainly flat fee packages where we're doing larger amounts, but we've also got clients that we only look at every 3 months, and for that we kind of charge a bit of a flat fee as well. I've always had a bit of an argument with people about it as well. When you're billing hourly, if you're writing on or writing off time, in my mind, you're already value-based billing there, right? Because you're going, the job's not worth that much. You're writing off the time or you're writing on the time. You're billing on a value-based billing. So the big hoo-ha, now you're on hourly. No, if you're writing on, writing off time, you kind of value as well.
So your business operates on a timesheet basis, like your staff fill out timesheets, you monitor write-offs, monitor productivity?
Yes, absolutely. So there's timesheets. The guys have to do timesheets for everything. I think they probably hate it. No one's actually quite told me. And I do my timesheet too. So I track how much time I spend on business development versus admin, all that kind of stuff like that. So yeah, monitor the write-ups and the write-offs as well as the hourly stuff. Rachel in my office, she's our 2IC. She's a lot better with the flat fee stuff than I am. So she'll go, yep, straight away, put them on flat fee, and I'm still like, a little bit too old school, going, oh no, I'll bill them on an hourly basis, and stuff like that. So I'm learning and struggling through that a little bit like everybody else. So unfortunately, I don't have a golden bullet for that one just yet.
Charles, got a little question. We're going to be going to some questions in the not too far distant future, but just got a couple of questions before that as to where you see the future. Let's look out a little bit, and if you look at the horizon from your perspective, what's the biggest iceberg? What's the thing that you fear the most, and what do you think's the biggest opportunity over the next few years, up to 5 years?
Okay, certainly the biggest iceberg at the moment is the whole automation side of things coming with the software. I think it's coming. Rod Drury did the shot over the bow last year at XeroCon to warn us that it's coming. I personally, while not downplaying it too much, I don't think it's going to quite come as quickly as perhaps as what Xero or Rod's trying to make out that it will, but I feel Rod was kind of warning us and fair warning on what's going to happen there. So I think in the next 5 years, we might get close to it, and it might be right on the 5 years. So really that unknown and how that's going to look, it's just that unknown, not quite being able to know. So I think that's what's coming in. So that whole auto coding, how much interaction is it going to require from us as bookkeepers? I still really believe there's a lot of value that you know, what we do isn't just bank reconciliations. There's payroll. It's knowing where to put it. Is it a capital? Is it not expense? Or looking and helping clients. Just today, I spent an hour with a client that has a business in Perth and a business in Melbourne, and we went through his P&L item by item to track where his business is going and where and what's happened in the past. So certainly that, I think, is the bigger opportunity. Trying to help clients through managing their business, helping them use their own accounting software. So we're not very protectionist in that regard. I try to, if a client wants to do 98% of all their bookkeeping, mate, go for it. I'll help you achieve that. And I'll look after the 2% every quarter. I'll review things and do everything. I'm not trying to protect my turf or anything in that regard. So that's where the opportunity are. There's so many more businesses out there that need that kind of thing, as well as the whole integration. So now, you know, accounting software isn't the only thing you use to run your business. You might have a point of sale, you might have an e-commerce site, and linking all that together. So even, again, just this morning, a new client that's just starting out, he's a sole trader, but he makes granola and sells granola at markets and so forth. He's really switched on. He set up Xero himself. Hey, okay, it's not 100% there, but he already linked up by himself Shopify. So here's this one-man band that's selling maybe $500 worth of product a week. And he's got an e-commerce site taking credit cards, you know, and that kind of thing just couldn't have happened 5-10 years ago. So helping clients and advising them through that side of things certainly is an opportunity for the future. So
one of your biggest ones, that's your biggest, you know, extension of that greater consulting role. You see that as probably the greatest opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's still, I really push hard to, especially the larger clients, that they shouldn't be doing the bookkeeping. Even if they can, they shouldn't be. Their time is so much better spent gaining new clients, developing new products, looking after their team. And so our full service division, what I call full service division, there's 3 guys in that, Rachel, Jesse, Keelan. Hey guys. They take care of the full end for clients. So they're like an outsourced accounts department for them. But again, because we don't outsource anything at Iron Books, and all of my staff are full-time staff, if a client's got a problem, they just ring up and they can deal with us direct. We pay their bills for them, process their payroll. So to be honest, I still think there's a really big need for that, and there's growth in that sector or that side of the business as well, because business owners should not be spending their time on their accounts, even if they can do it.
Charles, we're going to open the lines up now to our audience tonight. So if anyone listening tonight would like to ask a question of Charles, we have got a couple that's come into the Q&A box there, so we'll get to those shortly. But if you would like to come onto the panel, then just raise your hand and we'll bring you on that way, or just type your question into the Q&A box and we'll get to it through there.
So, while people are working out whether they've got the courage to put their hands up, I've got a couple of questions off the Q&A. So Charles, we'll bowl them over reasonably quickly if we can.
Yep.
What marketing did you use, you know, from day one? What was you partly answered that it was word of mouth, but did you, when you opened the doors, was there any marketing you put out there, and did it work?
To be totally honest, no. It was straight away from BNI and a website, and you know, this was 10 years ago. That was pretty much it, and it was just being different. So really, the early days was back then. Even after every BAS, I gave the client a P&L, and I had a branded folder to put their paperwork in, and it said Iron Books on the side of it and all this kind of stuff. So that side of things was what we did.
we've got someone who's got their hand up, so we're going to jump to there because they've got the guts to put their hand up, so they deserve a question. So we've got Joe Roberts.
Hi, Charles.
G'day, Joe. How you going?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Really interesting story. I just want to know how much of your business is actually online, and do you think that it will continue to increase as an online bookkeeping business, or whether there will always be a need for your bookkeepers to go out?
Okay, so the way things are right now, it depends whether you look at number of clients or revenue, I guess. But I would say revenue-wise, maybe 80% is possibly online, 75, 80, with the other 20%. I've purposely differentiated ourselves in being what I call a full-service bookkeeping firm. You know, you've heard of full-service stockbrokers. We're a full-service bookkeeping firm. You want someone to come out to your place, sit there, eat your biscuits and drink your coffee, as well as do the bookkeeping, obviously, then absolutely we would do that. You want to do it all offsite and online, then sure. So while it has decreased, personally, I think there'll always be a need for an on-site bookkeeper.
Okay. And so all the people that work for you are your employees, is that right? So you don't have contractors?
No, not a single contractor, no outsourcing. They're all full-time permanent staff. Got one staff member, they're 0.9 FTE, so like 4.5 days a week, but always since day dot permanent staff, because I wanted to build that whole team aspect. Made it hard in the early days. You finally make some money, right? Put on a full-time staff member, woof, okay, you're not making any money anymore. But I figure if the capacity is there, the work will come.
So are you still not marketing? Are you still not marketing? It's all still referrals. So you're still not doing any marketing. It's all coming from referrals.
Very little marketing, yeah. So luckily, and to be honest, it's one of those benefits of being around for so long now. So many people have actually heard of us. You know, that number of clients, that number of staff, that number of suppliers. I've picked up clients because we send remittance advices out to our suppliers, and of course it kind of comes from our email address, and they go, "Oh, Charles, you're a bookkeeper, you've been sending me remittance advices. Hey, I really need a bookkeeper. I've had enough of doing the accounts myself." So yeah, what can I say? It's an advantage of being around a lot longer, as the work just kind of flows in now these days.
Thanks, Joe. We've got a couple of other people on the line, so we'll get to them as well.
Sorry,
but thanks
Joe.
very much for your question. Michelle, would you like to ask your question of Charles?
G'day, Michelle.
New questions just keep coming up. When I send out a remittance, I change it to the client's email address.
Certainly, and that's what in Xero we do that now. You remember the old Maya ones when you send them out? They used to come from whatever Outlook you're on, and yeah, a lot of the time they still came from ours. So
I use Sasu mostly, and it automatically defaults to mine unless I change it in templates to come from the client.
Yeah, look, I was
that's
branded
a marketing tool to use your own email address.
Sorry, say that last part again.
Do you think that's a marketing tool to use your own email address?
What can I say? I think it might be. There's another little trick as well. On your email, under your display name, I've got Charles Klvana, and then I've actually got a dash I on books. So whenever someone gets an email from me, not only does it say Charles Klvana in the from field, but it says I on books without them having to read my email address. So it's always in their face that, hey.
Yes.
Yeah.
The other thing I thought was I get good feedback. Basically, I've shifted a lot of my clients to 1 or 2 accountants that I like, and I get good feedback from them about my work, but I don't get a lot of referrals. I get hardly any.
Right.
Why do you think that is?
Could be a number of reasons. So I have found on the odd occasion in the past that the accountants will give you the, what can we say, the B grade clients, because they don't want to look after the B grade clients, and they'll keep the A grade, and look, if they can make $500 from.
They're not giving me the C grade.
Not even that, the F grade, right? I would help educate them. So I used to do a couple of training sessions with them in terms of using Xero, because at the time, you know, we were very much on the cloud journey, And so I'd bring along a couple of pizzas, a carton of beer or something or other, and go, hey guys, I can help train your guys in using Xero and how to navigate their way around. So it's really just building the relationship up. And then they'll feel a little bit obligated, hopefully, to give you some clients when they see the.
You need to have some meetings with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Thanks, Michelle.
Okay,
We've got a
thank
couple
you.
of others. Thanks very much for your question.
Charles, I got one here, which is sort of really on point. Your business is built on, and you indicated from your fitness first days and your cafe that your processes, your procedures were all important. Were they all built by yourself, or did you acquire or borrow them elsewhere?
No, I mean, it depends what you call acquire, I guess. I mean, in the early days, I used a timesheet template that was what we'd used back in Fitness First, which I'd put together. So it's kind of still mine, but kind of something we had before. I certainly didn't outsource or pay someone else to come up with the procedures. And I'm happy to say now, as staff have come on board, need to be open to their ideas. And so they've also come up with new systems and procedures as well. I don't pretend to say that I came up with everything or that I know everything.
Okay.
So,
no,
yeah, does that answer the question?
Yeah, no, it does. Another one which is also super relevant for you, and because you've got 10 employees, they are, they're at the heart of your business. Do you specifically seek out BAS agents or qualified, or do you use the personality test? So is the qualifications crucial? Yeah.
Not, I wouldn't say super crucial. Again, it depends on the role. So now at iBooks, we're kind of somewhat in 4 odd departments. Kind of we've kind of divided up as we've grown. So we've got our full service department, as I mentioned before. So they're like an outsourced accounts department in a way. They do everything for a client. We've got the on-site guys, the road runners, right? So they're out on site with clients all the time. We've then got the off-site guys that tend to be more of a quarterly kind of looking after the clients all off-site. And then we've got Charles's department, right? Which is a little bit of everything. So these days now, I'm usually looking for a particular role in each one. So a full service department, I might be looking for someone that's a trainee, that's someone who wants to learn something that's only good with the AP and stuff, and might want to learn more about the bookkeeping side, so it doesn't need a BAS agent license, as opposed to perhaps a road runner where they're out on site with the client, they're on the spot, right? They can't go and say, oh, I don't know, and let me ring Charles. So those guys need to know what they're doing. And so those cases, I'll be looking for a qualification. Experience is a big one to be able to resolve those issues on the spot. So it really depends. Yeah.
Mate, I've got one question here from a good-looking chap in Brisbane called Peter. And he wants to know, are you planning to continue the same rate of growth with this business or not? Are you going to give someone else a chance to win Bookkeeper of the Year, or are you going to keep going?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I was Xero Bookkeeping Partner of the Year back in 2013, and there's been a Bookkeeping Partner of the Year ever since then. It hasn't been me. Look, honestly, I think for me, our long-term growth is about 15 staff. I think at 15 staff, we're at a comfortable size where if someone's sick or someone's on holidays, we're not going to feel it as much. It's a smaller percentage of the business. The departments have got a decent number of people in each department. When we get to that, then it'll be a case of looking at what we need to do, I guess. No plans to go international, and like I said, I'm not marketing anyway, but no big push to go national in any way. I don't buy bookkeeping firms, so we've grown organically throughout that whole time. We didn't buy those clients or anything like that through acquisitions either.
So you ain't finished yet?
Ain't finished yet, mate. We'll be there at 15 staff at least.
Charles, we've run out of time. It's been great having you on the program tonight. We've got a lot of people that I think would appreciate very much the insights that you've given them into your business, as other bookkeepers struggle with a lot of the things that you've overcome in the past few years. And obviously there's still a number of challenges ahead in the bookkeeping industry, and hopefully we get to tap into you sometime again in the future for a few more insights. So, mate, thank you very much for joining us, And also thank you to all our listeners tonight for joining us. Just a reminder before we go, we've got a Paul Dunn webinar. So if you have been on Bookkeeper Radio before, you'll know that Paul, of course, is a master presenter, 4 times TEDx speaker. Paul joined us on Bookkeeper Radio for our very first broadcast. If you just want to log on to the ABN website and find out a lot more about Paul's upcoming webinar, it'll be really worth tuning into, because he also covers a lot of detail of which Charles only had the opportunity to touch on tonight. So again, Charles, thanks very much for your input. Very much appreciate your time, and mate, hope you enjoy the rest of your week.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure being part of it. Always love talking and helping out other bookkeepers. That's why we're here.
Thanks a lot, Charles.
Thanks very much, and good night to everyone.
Good night to everyone.
See you guys around.
See you, mate.